Well, welcome everyone this morning to the Angus Licensing Board. I would like to welcome members to the board and remind all attendees that this meeting is being recorded and webcast live on the Council's YouTube channel. Could I remind all remote attendees to mute their microphones when not speaking, and please raise your electronic hand should you wish to speak. Thank you. If we start with apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies?
No apologies, Convener.
Sorry. Item 2, declaration of interest and statements of transparency. Are there any? No, thank you very much. Item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. Members will have had a copy of the previous minutes. They're at page number 3 to 8. Can we agree these as a true record of the meeting?
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 4, new premises licence application. We've had a request to defer this application till the next board. Are we agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. Move to item 5, the Chief Constable's annual report to Angus Licensing Board, pages 24 to 36. And I think we have, is it Inspector Gibson who will introduce this?
Good morning. I'm going to defer to Sergeant James Gordon to do that on my behalf.
That's great. Thank you. Sergeant Gordon.
Good morning, board members. Yes, you'll see before you the Chief Constable's Angus licensing report for the period of 2022 to 2023. I don't intend on reading the whole document as is, but to highlight the pertinent points that within the reporting period, 473 inspections to licensed premises were carried out. There was also 186 recorded incidents to licensed premises within the board area involving incidents of crime, drunkenness, disorder, minor breaches of the licensing legislation. Also, in terms of proxy sales, there was one instance of a child buying alcohol in the Angus area within that reporting period, and 2 instances of proxy sales buying of alcohol on behalf of a child or young person. One of these proxy sales was detected by a staff member who was suspicious of the sale that he had made, and followed the customer and observed them attempting to hand over the alcohol to the youths. He intervened and took possession of the alcohol. This is an excellent example of a piece of work from the staff member. Also, it's worth mentioning the test purchasing tool is available to police in terms of Section 105 of Licensing Scotland Act. The standard operating procedure has now been finalised to ensure its legality and cannot be challenged in court. However, it is a tool that is to be used in the last resort, and it involves the authorisation of directed and therefore would only ever be used where there's credible intelligence identifying such an area. There has been no such intelligence within the reporting period, so no test purchasing operations were carried out within the Angus area over that period. Over the proposed activity for the year ahead, the team will continue to work in conjunction with our community and response officers, as well as the LSO from Angus, to achieve the local and national priorities, as well as the objectives of the Licensing Scotland Act. We will continue to offer bystander to promote intervention and prevention in and around the licensed premises. We want to support licensees and work with those pubs, clubs and restaurants and other off licenses to spot the signs of spiking to ensure that the premises are safe for all. The team will actively engage with the licensees and to make them aware of these sessions, that they are free for them and to their staff. And it's hoped by doing this will have an effect on the potential perpetrators if they see the premises are taking real actions against the spiking. Also, we have launched, you may have seen in the media, and we've done a lot of work over the Angus area in the last few months, and especially between the periods within the report, It'll Cost You campaign, and this is to prevent and deter the sale of purchase of alcohol to anyone under the age of 18 years. We continue to do this work, and it is an ongoing, and to be fair to the licensed trade within the Angus area, we seem to get a lot of positive buy-in from them, so we thank them for that. And would be happy to take any questions that any board members may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do the board members have any questions on this report? Yeah, Councillor Melville.
Yeah, thanks, convener, and thanks for both the report and the commentary on it. I just want to refer to, it's page 7 of your report, but page 31 of the combined papers that we have in front of us, which sets out that there were 5 recorded between 2022 and 2023. Now, obviously, because of the pandemic in sort of late 21 into 22, this might be different, but I wonder if you could sort of just give us some commentary on how that compares to previous years, both in pandemic and maybe just before.
Yeah, we've done a bit of work with the licensing solicitor around this for your board policy, and the figures were previously provided to the board during this. I think the current, there wasn't, in from my belief, there was actually a decrease year on year, and that taken in the pandemic into account as well. But I think prior to the pandemic, this would still display a decrease in offences being detected within the Angus area.
Councillor Brays.
Yes, thanks, convener. Just to point out, I take it this is a typo here, but on page 28, it tells us Angus has much to offer residents, visitors and business. In an area of just 842 square metres, it has an estimated population of 116,900. I mean, that's a lot more jammed in than Hong Kong or anywhere else, I would have thought. And it took me 45 minutes to get halfway across the county this morning.
Yeah, I think that is a typo.
Thank you. I think there were a few board members waiting to ask that question. Happen all the time. Are there any other questions from board members? Any comments? Councillor Whiteside.
Thank you. I also picked up on that that little statistic. I'm looking at the table that Councillor Melville mentioned, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised to see the low numbers. And I just have to offer congratulations for the preventative and educational work that's going on in the whole area of Angus. So thank you.
Any other comments? No, I've got one comment. Just looking at the increase in the processing, it'll be page 29, I think, in the combined papers, page in the actual report. In 21-22, there were 687, that's licences of various kinds, and in 22-23, 733. So a fair increase there, I think about 7% increase, which seems to be managed very well by Police Scotland and the team that work on this. So it was just to actually say that, and thank you very much for the work. I think, finally, if there are no other comments, it's just to thank Police Scotland for this very detailed report. I'm just checking who to thank. Sorry, Inspector David Gibson, Sergeant James Gordon, and the 62 members of the police staff who actually work on this. Thank you very much, and I hope you can pass that on to your team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm saying all that without my microphone on again. I'll just go through it once more for anyone watching. The recommendation is that the board note the terms of the Chief Constable's annual licensing report to the board for the period of the 1st of April 2020 to 1st of March 2023. Is this noted?
Noted.
Thank you. That moves us on to item 6, page 37 of the combined papers. I'll just get myself there. Which is the Statement of Licensing Board Policy. Now, members will recall that we've actually discussed this previously. We've considered information from external sources on the board's policy. And we are now here today looking to finalise the policy of the board. There is, however, some additional information. I did have a note of it. Page. It was I think it was Appendix 4 of this report, and it was in relation to over-provision, if I'm correct. I think it's page 128. Yes, Appendix 4, 128. This is some information that wasn't available at our last discussion, and now that it is, I would like to ask whether the board have any questions on this additional information. Perhaps, Jennifer, you can maybe just come in there and tell us what the additional information relates to.
Yes, sir. Certainly. Thank you, Convener. Information was presented when the board last considered the statement of policy in relation to premises within the area, excuse me, premises within the area and the capacities of those premises. Now, unfortunately, it has become apparent that information did not include off-sales premises. It included, apologies, on and off-sale premises. It included on-sale premises, it included off-sale premises. However, it did not include on-off-sale premises. And so the information presented was incomplete so far as capacity and numbers of premises. So what the Appendix 4 shows here is it's differently. The premises are laid out by locality. The board had determined that the localities were to be the 7 boroughs. With regard to over-provision, it's the localities that the members are considering, with the exclusion of club premises, which are qualifying in terms of the Act.
Sorry, I just wanted, it's page 136, unless I am being very silly. Oh, I might be, hang on. Because I thought, so there was only 3 listed in Montefieth, but I am aware of a 4th, which is the, used to be the co-op, just as you were coming along Broughty Ferry Road, and it is now a Premier, and they, as far as I'm aware, do sell alcohol as well. So.
Thank you. This information has been extracted from the Council's system in which all licensed premises are recorded. When the information was extracted from the machine, from the data was extracted, it did, however, include a number of duplications and so on, and so the data was checked through to make sure that they're taken out, as well as the qualifying club premises. That is an unexpected observation. I'm not quite sure how easy it would be to actually go back and through and check that, but it would be interesting to know actually if members recognise any other premises. The club premises obviously, as I say, have been identified and extracted and rechecked, but that's one in Monifieth. Members may wish to note that in terms of the data that's presented. So the data presented identifies the premises themselves for each of the localities. It identifies those separately which are on sales for each locality, off sales, and as I say, on and off sales, and the capacities for those so far as capacities are known. Some capacities were never identified in that some premises had grandfather rights, etc. And so that data wasn't captured at that particular time. Also at Appendix 5, there is a summary of these numbers. Now, previously, at the previous meeting of the board, a table had been presented, and it had been understood that we were comparing like with like at that time. However, the only comparison at this point, which of like from the 2018 figures, is the off sales, because the data that was captured back in 2018 unfortunately wasn't captured in this particular way. Obviously, it identified types of premises and so on. Now, members had previously been asked if they did wish additional information, and at that time had indicated not. But obviously, if members do feel that additional information is required to enable a fulsome analysis and decision-making process, it does need to be evidence-based, then obviously that can be taken back and looked into. I will ask if it's possible in some way to check the data figures. It may be possible to do that against the actual register. We can certainly attempt that. That data was captured as at the 28th of August, and obviously we will have a note of any activity since that time. So it should be possible to do it from that perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Just received a notification.
Convener, I've just double-checked with Mrs Candy, and she's checked the Northgate system, and there should be a fourth premises for Monifieth. It wasn't listed in the initial report from Northgate, and she has no idea how that's happened. It hasn't been picked up.
Thank you. Councillor Whiteside.
Thank you. I think obviously it is important that the information is valid and everything's recorded, although I think the Scottish Grocers Federation made some very valid points in their response to the consultation, in that given the nature of online sales and deliveries, etc., this method of talking about over-provision actually valid? Has it kept up with the modern life? So I don't think there's any reason to delay decision making, although we would like to be satisfied that the information that we've got is up to date as possible.
I think I would agree with that, Councillor Whiteside. And we have found one, an omission. We don't know how it's happened, but really in the overall, would it make any difference to what our decision would be? But we can discuss that. Councillor Brays.
Yes, thanks, Convener. I was just wondering if we could amend this report ourselves to add the Monifieth one. It's maybe not relevant now.
I'd imagine we could. I mean, if we were going ahead to approve the report overall, we could approve it with that proviso to add that.
Yes, I think it could be noted, rather, that the data should be amended to include the additional premises, if members are satisfied with without further checking.
Are there any other questions? Councillor Dunn.
Yes, sorry to bring this up, but on the copper oven in our road, it's got on and off sales, but they actually have an outside area as well, but that's not on the plan. You know, as an outside area, there's not, you know, the how many people can sit outside. That's not on the plan either. But that's maybe because it's not been that long since it's been done. So, you know, maybe the paperwork was done before the permission was granted. So just another amendment. Sorry.
The data has been extracted from the database as at 23rd August, so any changes since 23rd August will not show up.
It was just outside areas, not on the plan here, but that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll note that. Now I've lost my place. Who else? Councillor Fotheringham.
Thank you very much, Convener. And I apologise because I maybe should have raised this before, but in my 11 and a half years on this board, quite a number of times agents and applicants have commented on how complicated the model local conditions for children and young persons are. I wonder, and I'm not going to disagree this report at all and the statement of licensing policy, but I wonder if it's something that could be looked at either with your approval by a very one-meeting member officer group online to simplify these. If that's possible, thank you.
I see no reason if that's something that board members would like. I see no reason why a small working group couldn't be set up to look at those conditions. Like you say, I don't think it should hamper our approval otherwise today, but certainly if it's something we think should be looked at, then I have no issue with that, and I think that is a very good suggestion. Councillor White.
Yeah, I had another point on page 73. 4 areas, item B, no music shall be provided in external drinking areas. Now, given the recent case we had here that caused a little bit of controversy, I wonder if that could possibly be amended to say no amplified music shall be provided in external drinking areas, or if we could.
I think that's possibly something music has come up on several occasions, and I think there's a mixed bag of feeling about it, but certainly I think we could add that into the short-lived working group.
I was just thinking, if you're in your own garden in the summer, you may have a radio playing quietly, etc. It seems particularly onerous to completely ban it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was actually just of clarity on that. In the sort of preamble to that report, and this was something that we talked about internally when we were discussing this, we wanted to make sure that board members knew that these conditions could be applied in full, or just one or two, or something like that. So where it says that, yeah, the conditions may be applied in full or in any combination. So where we feel it's not appropriate to apply condition B or condition C or condition A or any of them, we have that power to say, well, actually, yes, you should be able to play music in your drinking area or not. But I think it is something that we can look a bit more closely at. But it's just, we wanted to make sure that members knew the scope of our power in imposing these conditions.
Thank you, Councillor Melville. Any other questions or comments? I have one, if I can find it. Oh yeah, I don't have a page number, but it's in relation to, we discussed licences that were no longer used at prior meetings. This is where a public house, however, closes, but can remain with the licence for the next 20 years, which seems a bit wasteful. And we did discuss it and thought that it would be an idea that we bring in some period whereafter we would say the licence would then end. Now, I was a bit unsure on the actual time limit for that. What was suggested was 5 years. Now, I have had someone say to me that they thought that was a bit long. But obviously I wanted to just see what the board members thought of that, because that's been put in, but it's whether people actually agree that 5 years or a different period would be better. Councillor Whiteside.
I personally don't have a problem with that. I don't think we should be making things any more difficult than they need to be. And there may be reasons why that timescale would come into effect. I don't have a problem. I don't think we need to make it much shorter.
Councillor Melville.
Yeah, like Councillor White said, I think 5 years is a fair amount of time. It's a sort of everyone knows what, you know, if you make it 3 years, that's a bit of an awkward, but everyone can sort of plan to 5 years, can't they? So I think that's wise.
Anyone else? So we agreed 5 years. Yeah? Okay. I'm going to have to go back over that one. I'm very sorry. Recommendation 1, consider the response received to the consultation on the board's draft statement of policy and over provision assessment. Appendix 1. Are we happy with that? Yes? 2, consider the additional and updated data relating to licensed premises provided at appendices 4 and 5, particularly with respect to the over provision assessment. That's what we have just discussed. Are we happy with that? 3, note and approve amendments to the current statement of policy made by the board at the special meeting of the board on the 20th of June 2023, and additional changes, all as detailed in the draft policy statement at appendices 2 and 3, and authorise the clerk to update the new statement of policy. Are we agreed? Thank you very much.
Sorry, do we need to add an additional condition relating to the subgroups that we're going to?
Yes, sorry, missed that. We're also, hopefully, we also agree that we will set up a short-lived subgroup to look at the conditions relating to children and to the playing of music. Are we agreed?
Sorry.
Councillor Whiteside.
Sorry to be a nuisance. Could we not make that too specific in case there's other matters that they wish to discuss while they're doing that? Any further amendments considered necessary, perhaps?
Sorry, Councillor Whiteside.
Yeah, that was my point. If we got it agreed today, but subject to being able to bring slight amendments following the meeting of the group.
I don't see any reason to do that, but what we don't want is, I mean, we've had a period now, we've all had a look at it, it's been out for consultation, all council members. What we probably don't want a rewriting of the policy when we've just actually agreed it. But yes, if there's something pressing, I see no reason why the group couldn't discuss it. Yeah. Can we just have a then, we suggest we have a short adjournment just so we can check this out, just make sure that we're above board. But we'll come back to you, Councillor Clark, okay? All right, right. We'll come back.
10-minute adjournment.
10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
John, would you stop the live stream just now?
Okay, welcome back, everyone. We've had time for a discussion, and this isn't a simple thing to do. There are a couple of options. The difficulty we have is that to set up a subgroup, for them to consider and then report back to us, we would need a special meeting in between now and this has to be finished and published by the 5th of November. So given the time, it would be very, very difficult. We would have to meet probably around the first week of October, which could be problematic because that's in the holiday period. The other alternative is that we approve the policy as it stands, but then we undertake to set up the subgroup. They would report back over a period of time, but then maybe in 6 months' time or thereabouts, we could review the policy. What we have to do then, though, is that it has to go out for the consultation and all the rest of it that we had to do for this one. That's a requirement. So it's not as easy as us saying, well, let's just change this or add this on and then getting advice. As I say, that is the second option. Another possible option is that the board, after Civic, all remain here. We discuss the issues. Now that's obviously going to take a fair bit of time, and then we approve or otherwise the policy document. My preference, just if anyone's interested, and you'll obviously all have your own thoughts on this, is that we agree to approve this today, set up the subgroup, approve this today, and then get the short-lived committee to report back to us, and then we go through the process again if there are changes required, because we don't know. Yes, Councillor Dunn.
Do we not have the discretion on individual cases to put in certain conditions on each application? So if an application came through that had children involved at that time, as Councillor Foran, there may be certain things we want to say on the children's conditions. We could just do that on each application. Could that?
Is that the case, Jennifer?
I must apologise. My hearing was.
The conditions relating to children.
Yes.
Is it the case that we can apply these bits and not other bits, so we can actually change them depending on the application?
Yes. The standard process at the moment is that these conditions are attached to all licences, and therefore how they operate is reflected within the conditions. However, on occasion we are asked to disapply certain conditions. That then has looked quite difficult, I think, in terms of the licence itself, which is why there's a change to the description there to say that how that will be reflected in the licence document itself. But yes, so and there are instances where the conditions are amended. Well, the conditions themselves, if you like, are not amended in terms of the specific wording, but conditions are disapplied.
Yes, that's exactly what I meant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor.
Thanks, convener. And I know what you mean, Brenda, but I think the point of this is making the initial conditions just so much simpler for people to understand, and then much more easier to follow and more likely to follow them properly if they're simpler. I tend to agree with the convener that we should set up this subgroup and come back. And presumably, if we came back with a few very succinct changes, it would be quite a simple process to send that out to the list of consultees.
The consultation would be the same consultation process as has been carried out for this, and so we would, well, depending on what the board intended it to be, but the guidance requires us to consult with the various individuals that have been identified by the board, and certain others individuals would require to consult also with the consultees that are set out in terms of the guidance, the licensing forum, etc.
Councillor Braze.
So if we went ahead with that suggestion, that option, and we set up the working group, short-lived, what are we looking at for a timescale then? Would come back? Would we just come back to a scheduled board meeting in the future?
Yes, effectively what's in discussion at the moment is that we've gone through a process to prepare a new licensing policy, and the proposal on the table is that we conduct a review of that licensing policy. So effectively, yes, it would come to, the process would start again and would come back to a meeting of the board in due course at whatever stage was determined.
Okay, thanks.
I've just had a request for a further adjournment. Sorry about that. It's just to get some more legal advice. Is that okay?
10 minutes.
10
minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes. Thank you.
If you stop this, pause the stream again. Again, please.
Okay, everyone, thank you. We've now sought further advice, and the position as it stands is that we've previously, i.e. just a few minutes ago, we agreed the policy as is. The question was there about the short-lived working group and looking into possibly reviewing parts of the policy. So I think what we need then is an understanding from officers that we will set up a short-lived working group. When I say short-lived, it'll take obviously the time that it takes, who will report back to this board, who will then make a decision on whether we want to do anything on the report, depending on what the content is. Is that agreed? Agreed. Okay. Thank you very much. Councillor Melville.
Thank you, Convener. I just wonder what the process would be for appointing members of the board to that body.
Yeah. What we will do is an email will come out asking for volunteers for the group, and also asking members of the board to make suggestions on what they would want to be looked at. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, I'll have to start again. My microphone wasn't on again. Just to say, it might seem to members of the public who are watching that we very quickly go over some of these reports. These reports, which are called delegated reports, have actually been agreed. The permission to agree these was delegated from the board. Hence, all we are being asked to do is to note these reports. So when I say, is this noted, and people hopefully say noted, then that's why it's so quick. It's not that we're not considering the reports. Thank you. So we're on we're on delegated approvals, and this one is personal licences, and the recommendation is recommended the board note the licences granted under delegated authority as detailed in the attached appendix. Are these noted? We move on to item 8, which is page 153. Again, delegated approval. Are these noted? Item 9, page 158. And these are minor variations, again delegated approvals. Are these noted? And item 10, which is page 161. And this one is premises license surrendered. There is one license surrendered from it's license number 194, the Buick Lounge Bar, Lachlan Street, Arbroath. The licence holder has surrendered the licence, however no actual licence needs to be surrendered as it's electronic. The recommendation is that the board determine that the premises licence detailed in the attached appendix has been surrendered and has ceased to have effect. Do we agree?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. And that is the end of our licensing. Thank you.
If you stop the live stream, John, for the licensing board, that's it.